Welcome back to Port Elizabeth, the beautiful city. This is part 31, and we're continuing our walk around Mill Park. Here we're in Wares Road. We're looking at the so-called dream houses of Mill Park. That's a architectural style, really, the English arts and crafts, the Cape Dutch revival, and Art Nouveau. Really, all were sort of dream houses because they were like surreal. So here's a lovely gable on a house called White Gables. So it obviously had more than one. But yeah, like so many, they're behind high walls these days. But I managed to get a look, and built in 1929. These houses, the finish is superb. I've been into one or two of them, and you just see class written all over them. And this is the next house, which isn't in McLaughlin's book, but clearly another. It seems to incorporate a bit of Art Deco extension here, maybe. So heading back down the road on the other side of Wares Road, and we're back at the corner with that corner house with the interesting gables. And then we go down Mill Park Drive. And although this one isn't in the book, it's one I've been into. And as I said, the finishes are incredible. And this one's also not in the book, but as you can see, another really interesting house. Fantastically ornate gable there on four pillars with a great balcony out the front. In fact, as I say here, the wall was so tall for this building, I just shoved the camera up and took this shot. And it turns out that this one is in the book and completed in 1929. Another wonderful gabled building. And this one, despite being so ornate, interesting, not in the book, but clearly also one of the gems. This one is in the book and was 1927. Marseille tiles on the roof, apparently. Again, shot over a wall. Number 15, English Tudor Revival style from 1929. How is that path? It's a dramatic sort of entrance. And a lovely wrought iron fence at the next house. And the gables and Jones and McWilliams design from 1929. A dramatic symmetrical concave V form. So huge gables on either side, and then this sort of entrance here. Yeah, fascinating. This one barely visible, said to have a wonderful doorway, completed in 1939 and 1919. And this one's also not very visible at number 9, 1920. Yeah. So here McLaughlin raves about the boundary wall with its, not in the book, but here two big gables, and I think they were doing some work at the entrance here. So we're looking through electric wires, security. managed to sneak that picture in from the side. And one of the, as you get close to Cape Road, of course, they become businesses, which is quite sad, but sign of the times. Going down the other side of the road, everything was in shadow and surrounded by a lot of foliage. So it was pretty hard to get any decent shots. And then this thing came in for a lot of criticism. It replaced an earlier building and really not in keeping with the rest of the suburb. So here we get a views across the road of one of those houses. And here all we really get to see are the interesting fence here, gate posts. Not much more than gate posts there. Back in McLean Road, heading down on the Grey High School side with the cricket field, cricket nets there. And looking across at some of those houses we saw earlier in the previous video. So here you get a sense of how they're placed in the street. This one was undergoing restoration. It's also in the book from 1927. And then we go down College Drive. A lot of gables there, but you'll see the grey school now as we walk past the AstroTurf. And so that's not the most flattering thing with all these adverts in the foreground. This is actually the Graham Pollock Field, named after arguably South Africa's greatest cricketer ever, the left-handed batsman who grew up in Port Elizabeth, went to this school, and sadly didn't have a decent international career after 1970, when he was in his prime. Him, Barry Richards, Mike Proctor, Peter Pollock. There was a host of them. It was arguably one of the strongest teams in the world, and they were just removed. Eddie Barlow, due to sanctions. I think that might be the junior school. And here's even a little shooting range. So that would have been given as one of the sports you could do, would be shooting with, no doubt with those things called. Where's Road again? Oh, okay, sorry. So now I moved across, drove across Wes Road towards the Balkans Valley side of Mill Park. So this is the other side of Mill Park. And here's the first one in pine cones at 13 Waverley Drive, built in 1937. McLean likes a timber balcony and brackets and steeply pitched roof. Again, very hard to get pictures through the dense foliage. And that's a view across the valley towards St. George's Park. So none of these are featured in the book, although they are mansions. So not much found in Waverley Drive. So I walk back to the car. looking out across the valley there. And this is Woodville Road, and this is in the book, the Old Mill House. Again, I think the garage is a later edition. 1925, according to McLaughlin, it really impressive with its steeply pitched roof and carefully proportioned facade. So creepers going up the side here. Maybe, to my mind, detract possibly from it somewhat. Sorry. And across the road, this large mansion, not in the book, but huge presence on the street. I think this is kind of almost a tourism outfit. There's, looks like game drive type vehicles here, or jeeps and stuff. And then this one's called Far End, 1920. And this one, even though it's a nice Jones and McWilliams from 1925, it's not visible behind that wall. And then into Young Road for Shangri-La from 1920. Again, they've added the garage later in the same style. Or maybe it was originally done, because this is presumably after cars were invented. Heading back to the car via those houses, this Art Deco house, different era. Quite nicely preserved. In Woodville Road. And work was underway here, Waverley. Huge wild fig tree. And then old McLaughlin talks about this. It's called Mediterranean Revival from 1934. The shell-like moulding above the front door. It's interesting. Almost Moorish in character with its roof parapets. Yeah, so here we have a view of Mill Park. So the school is here, Grey High. Kind of all these buildings, and then this big area here. So I only really looked along here and along this part here and a bit up here. So probably much more to explore there. But let's leave it for now. What's next? Oh, this is just to show you the book, Gavin McLaughlin's book, The Dream Houses of Mill Park, published in 1992. And as it says, illustrated by first-year architecture students at what was then UPE. Yeah. So after that, we'll head up to Park Lane and surround. So that's just off Park Drive, but we'll see that next time. Cheers.